Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon so you never miss my literature lectures. Today we're going to study a clever and humorous poem by Robert Frost, titled Quandary. Before starting the line-by-line explanation, let me first tell you the background, the theme and the central idea of this poem. This poem deals with a very old and important human problem, the difficulty of choosing between good and bad. The title Quandary means a state of confusion, doubt, or being puzzled. Frost explains in a light and joking way that good cannot exist without bad, because we understand one only by comparing it to the other. The poem also talks about the need for human intelligence to make choices in life. The main theme of the poem is the struggle, or quandary, that humans face when trying to decide what is right and wrong, what we should love and what we should hate. Now let's begin the line-by-line explanation. Never have I been glad or sad. In this opening line, Robert Frost says that he has never felt happiness or sadness about the fact that good and bad exist in the world. He speaks calmly, as though he simply accepts this reality instead of becoming emotional about it. Are you getting the point? It's like he is saying, I don't get too excited or upset about the existence of bad things. In simple words, you can say it means that he has never reacted strongly to the idea that good and bad are both part of life, and then says that there was such a thing as bad. Here, he continues the idea by saying that the existence of bad was never a big shock to him. He understands that negative things are simply part of the world. The line shows acceptance rather than fear or worry. Frost is telling us that the presence of bad things is not unusual. It's just a normal part of human experience. So in very easy words, he means that he never found it surprising that bad things exist. There had to be, I understood. In this line, the poet explains that he always believed that bad had to exist. He is saying that it is necessary. This shows his logical thinking. He tries to understand the world rather than complain about it. Frost suggests that the world is balanced by opposites, and bad is one of those opposites. It is something we must accept rather than deny. Simply, he means he realized long ago that bad things must exist. It is part of how the world works. For there to have been any good, Frost now gives the reason. Good can only exist if bad exists. The two ideas depend on each other. Without the opposite, you cannot understand the value of either. Frost is explaining a simple but deep truth about life. We learn what is good because we have experienced bad. In easiest words, he means that good makes sense only when it is compared to bad. And then says, it was by having been contrasted. Here the poet says that good and bad have survived and remained meaningful only because they are constantly compared with each other. The word contrasted means placed side by side in opposition. Frost is showing that contrast helps us understand life better. Without differences, nothing would have any significance. So the simple meaning is, good and bad stay important because they are always compared. That good and bad so long had lasted. This line means that good and bad continue to exist because they balance each other. Their opposite nature keeps them alive. If there were only one of them, we wouldn't even notice it. Frost suggests that contrast gives life meaning. He also shows how these two ideas have existed throughout all human history. Simply, he means that the long-lasting presence of good and bad comes from their differences. And then says, that's why discrimination reigns. Here the poet says that because good and bad exist, human beings must practice discrimination, not the harmful kind, but the ability to tell things apart. The word reigns means rules or dominates. Frost is saying that our lives are full of choices. We must separate right from wrong, wise from foolish. Are you getting the point? In easy words, he means that we constantly need to judge and choose because life contains both good and bad. That's why we need a lot of brains. This means that human beings need good intelligence to make choices in life. Frost humorously suggests that life is not simple, so you must use your mind. It shows that thinking carefully is necessary, not optional. He also hints that wisdom is needed to understand the world. In simple terms, he means we need strong brains to decide correctly between right and wrong. And then says, if only to discriminate. In this line, Frost explains that even if our brains were needed for nothing else, they would still be necessary just to distinguish one thing from another. The word discriminate here means to tell the difference. The poet highlights the importance of thinking and judgment, so the easy meaning is that our brains are important because they help us understand distinctions in life. Twixt what to love and what to hate. This line means that the biggest use of the human mind is to decide what is worth loving and what deserves dislike or rejection. Frost shows that emotional decisions also require intelligence. It suggests that life is full of choices and we must choose carefully. So simply, he means we need brains to decide which things are good for us and which are bad. And then says, to quote the oracle at Delphi, the poet now brings in ancient Greek wisdom. The oracle at Delphi was a famous place where people went to seek advice from the gods. Frost uses this reference to show that even old wisdom agrees with his idea. It gives authority to his argument. So in simple words, he means he is going to use a very old and respected piece of advice. Love thy neighbor as thyself, I. This line repeats the old command. You should love your neighbor the same way you love yourself. The word I means yes. It is a teaching found in many cultures. Frost presents it as a noble and difficult instruction. In simple language, he means the old advice is to treat others with the same kindness you would give yourself. And then says, and hate him as thyself thou hatest. Here, Frost humorously twists the old teaching. He says that if you hate yourself, then you will also hate your neighbor. This creates confusion. It shows that the instruction becomes tricky when emotions are complicated. Are you getting the point? I hope so. Simply, Frost highlights the complexity of human nature. In simple words, he means that loving and hating others can be confusing if you don't even feel clear about yourself. And then says, there quandary is at its greatest. This line explains that this confusion is the real quandary, meaning the real problem. Deciding who to love and who to hate becomes extremely difficult. Frost shows that moral decisions are not simple. It reveals the struggle humans face in everyday life. Simply, it means that this is where the biggest confusion happens. We learned from the forbidden fruit. Here, the poet refers to the story of Adam and Eve. The forbidden fruit represents knowledge. Frost says humans learned many things, including the need to think, from this moment. This gives the poem a deeper philosophical meaning. Simply, it means that humans gained wisdom and awareness from their first mistake. For brains, there is no substitute. This line means that nothing can replace the importance of having a good mind. Frost makes it very direct and clear. Life requires thinking, and you cannot escape that. In simplest words, he means that you must use your brain because nothing else can do its job. And then says, unless it's sweetbreads, you suggest. Now the poem becomes humorous. Someone jokingly suggests that sweetbreads can replace brains. Sweetbreads are a type of meat, not bread, which is taken from an animal's organs. This line also adds a humorous tone, because the speaker is already talking seriously about brains, thoughts, and intelligence, and suddenly someone mentions food. He feels that this comment carries a hidden joke or hint. Simply, it means someone is teasing him by bringing up sweetbreads while he is talking about brains. With innuendo I detest. This line means that the poet dislikes the hint or joke being made. The word innuendo means a hidden meaning or suggestive remark. Frost makes it clear that he finds the comment unpleasant. Simply, he means he does not appreciate such teasing jokes. And then says, you drive me to confess in ink. It means that the poet feels forced to admit something in writing because of what the other person has said. The phrase drive me shows that he didn't want to confess at first, but their teasing or comments push him into it. The words confess in ink simply mean he is going to write down the truth openly, without hiding anything. It also adds a humorous tone, as if he is dramatically announcing a big confession. This line shows the playful relationship between the speaker and the person he is talking to. Simply, it means their teasing makes him admit the truth on paper. Once I was fool enough to think. Now he admits that he once believed something very silly or foolish. He is looking back at a mistake he made in the past and openly confessing it with a bit of humor. The phrase fool enough means he was naive or didn't know any better at that time. The line shows that he is being honest about his earlier ignorance. It also adds a playful tone, as if he is gently laughing at his past self. Simply, it means that long ago, he was mistaken and believed something that now seems obviously wrong. That brains and sweetbreads were the same. Here, the poet admits that he once thought sweetbreads, a type of meat, were actually brains. He confused the two. This creates a funny moment. The poet is making fun of his own misunderstanding. In easy words, you can say, he means he thought sweetbreads were actual brains. And then says, till I was caught and put to shame. This means other people corrected him and he felt embarrassed. Frost is being honest about being wrong. He highlights how mistakes can teach us. So simply, he means he was corrected and felt foolish. Actually, once he believed that, sweetbread and brain are same, and then someone found him and correct him. And then says, first by a butcher, then a cook? In this line, the poet explains who corrected him. People who deal with meat and food. It adds humor because they are experts in these things. He is showing how obvious his mistake was. Simply, it means both a butcher and a cook told him he was wrong. And further, he says, then by a scientific book. Finally, Frost says even a scientific book confirmed his mistake. This line emphasizes how far off he was. He learned the truth from many sources. In simple words, he means that science also proved him wrong. But 'twas by making sweetbreads do? It means that the poet admits he once used sweetbreads, which are actually animal organs used in cooking as a substitute for real brains in an intelligence test or experiment. He humorously says he made the sweetbreads do, meaning he pretended they were brains or used them in place of brains because he didn't know the difference at the time. The speaker is poking fun at himself for being ignorant before he learned better. I passed with such a high IQ. In this final line, Robert Frost is jokingly saying he was able to succeed in a test or appear very intelligent because he used sweetbreads instead of real brains. Of course, this is not true in real life. He is being humorous and playful. The line suggests that people sometimes pretend to be smarter than they are or rely on tricks instead of genuine knowledge. It also shows the poet's light, teasing tone because he is making fun of himself for confusing sweetbreads with brains earlier. In a deeper sense, he is laughing at human foolishness and how easily we can mistake one thing for another. If you enjoyed this explanation, please like the video, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel for more easy poetry lectures. Thank you.